to Horror Movies with Friends. I'm your host, Andy Green, aka Wolfmandy Screame, and this is day 12. Day 12, God, I'm losing track, of 31 days of horror movies, friends/monsters, and drink pairings. And I mean, without further ado, we've done this enough. My esteemed guest, we have Count Dracula himself. We have Kyle Dickinson.
Well, hello, Andy.
I knew it was coming. Yes, he's going to talk like that the entire episode. That's actually just how Kyle talks.
It is. It's nice to meet you all.
It's like Count Dracula. Kyle, what movie did we watch? Or Dracula, what movie did we watch?
Well, we of course watched my movie. I can't do that. We watched Nosferatu.
The Vampyre.
Phantom der Nacht.
Yes.
By Werner Herzog, 1979.
Yes. Klaus Kinski and Isabelle Adjani. I don't know if that's...
And Bruno Ganz? Was that the guy's name?
Yeah. Is that Knock? That's got to be Knock.
Bruno Ganz, I don't know. I thought it was...
Van Helsing?
No, I think it was Harker.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know.
It could be Harker. Well, that's how much
we'll look in the credits
we
later.
did. Yeah, it'll be under there. And so yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, and I highly recommend it, it is on Peacock, it is on Fandor Canopy, and also the original Nosferatu is on Shudder and basically everything. If you just look it up, you can find it everywhere, and that's the 1922 F.W. Murnau film that this is a remake on. We're going to probably talk about both a little bit, or at least we watched it for historical context, and it's that it's 100 years old. It's just a really cool artifact.
Yeah, and actually, I did some extra research. Just I'm taking these out. I won't be able to drink this.
You're not a vampire.
Oh, Andy!
Damn it!
I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
At least wanted to get a nip before.
Well, I can put them back in.
Okay. We'll do that.
I was afraid I would swallow these, actually.
Oh yeah, that would be. Oh yeah, just like have your teeth just on the table.
You know, I'm like your grandfather or something.
Well, that fits. Yeah.
I read a little bit about the history of Dracula as well.
Ooh.
And just the Bram Stoker's. My sister was reading this book called Dracul, which was like a prequel combined with the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, so we were talking about that after the movie. She was my watching partner last night.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we got some historical context, but before we go any further, it's time for some beer, I think. And I think there's something in here that I need. Yes.
You know how to use that?
I do. I'm just going to do it like this. It's like I'm used to the wine. Well, before I open this glorious thing, we are going to be about to... You need to see it, not the audience. We're about to consort with the devil, Kyle. This is the Holy Mountain Brewing Company out of Seattle. I've been there multiple times. One of the few... I probably know this place the most of the things that I've been sampling. And this is an ale aged in oak barrels. And I'm just reading the thing. I didn't do... But 6.5%. It's
not too bad.
Yeah, and it's brewed in collaboration with Oxbow Brewing Company. And that's in Newport, Maine. This feels like, Maine's creepy.
Yeah.
Stephen King.
Consorting with the devil was brewed with a blend of Pilsner malt, Vienna rye, and oat malt, and hopped in the mighty glasses. Dracula needs glasses.
Oh, is that what it says? Well, this is, to be fair, it's really hard to read that.
It is really hard to read that.
This is going to be a 40-hour long...
Listen, I'll read it later. I'll do the voiceover. I literally can't read that at all.
But this is going to be it looks like a sour. We're going to get a little...
okay.
There's some, Brett in here.
I love that. The artwork on that.
Yeah,
it's really pretty.
I'm guessing that'll look great. And then let's open this. I hope it just explodes all over the writing desk. But that's what this desk needs.
This desk is soaked in alcohol, Andy.
That's... Ooh. Let's...
Oh, yeah.
I'm pouring myself first because you made a big deal about this being my glass.
Yes, so. I did make a big deal about it. Come on, Guillermo. You can't have this better glass.
All right.
This looks pretty.
This does look pretty. Ooh, someone didn't turn their phone on.
Oh.
You're supposed to turn your phone off for this?
It's the fucking 1800s, Kyle.
Hold on.
God damn it.
You never know.
There's no service in the Carpathians.
Yeah, but somebody might be alerting me if Van Helsing is coming.
Well,
Then what would you have me do?
You don't have to fucking worry about Van Helsing in this movie.
Oh my god.
Van Helsing is he's older than you, and you had to take your fucking teeth out.
I literally can't shut this phone off for some reason.
Yeah, you should see how big the text is on here. It really is fitting in the theme of. It's like,
what? What does it say?
Have you ever worked a phone?
I'm pressing the button. This is not working.
Just silence it.
There we go.
There we go.
That took forever.
It did take forever, and I'm keeping every second of this glorious take. So,
Can you see me if the bottle is there?
We're trying to block you now.
God damn.
All right, well, let's consort. I think we've already gotten a little bit.
Ow!
Smells a little bit like sour.
I just go straight to the taste. As a good vampire does.
I don't drink wine.
But
This
when
is
I
good.
do,
Is that what you were doing?
No, that's a Bela Lugosi quote.
Right, he was a famous alcoholic, right?
No, just like literally in Dracula. The original. But anyway, this is good.
I like it. It is more of a sour.
But it's also not. It doesn't make me get the acid reflux thing that sours can do. Although we're early in this adventure.
Hi, Andy. When I'm with you, it feels like I've always been drinking. You know. That's what I like about our friendship.
Yeah, like it's like a handicap. When an handicap. Wow.
Yeah, I had to go there.
Yeah, so it's like, am I worth what, 2 to 3 drinks?
I think you're worth like 3 drinks for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
I get drunk on you, Andy.
I feel like I'm just like pale. Like I'm Harker. Bruno Ganz. We're just gonna assume. I hope we're very wrong. So, why did we watch this film? Why was this your choice?
Well, long story long.
That's what this whole episode's gonna be.
I had a professor in college named Jörg Walther, who was from Austria. Who that was around the same time that I learned about Werner Herzog, and he sort of reminded me of Werner Herzog, and I became sort of like dually obsessed. Like, I didn't become a good cinematographer in Jörg Walther's class, but I liked him just because his accent was really great. And that was...
You're a simple man.
You know, one of the first reasons I really liked Werner Herzog, too, is I saw the film Burden of Dreams. Have you seen that? Okay, yeah. Burden of Dreams is a documentary made about the film Fitzcarraldo.
Okay, yeah, I've seen...
You've seen Fitzcarraldo. Okay. Famously a really hard movie to make, right? And Werner Herzog has amazing quotes in that. And so I bought this DVD set of all the movies that Herzog did with Kinski. And so I've had that DVD set for probably 10 years.
Is it here? Can we have
shoot. It's upstairs. I literally just took it upstairs to watch the movie last night.
This is the only time where that would have been the... Okay, anyway, sorry.
So I got this DVD set, and I've had it, like I said, for a long time, and I've only watched one movie, and it was not even one of Herzog's, like, fiction movies. It was a documentary that he made after Kinski passed.
Fiend?
My Best Fiend.
Yes.
And I don't know, I guess maybe I'm just more interested in Herzog as a person than as like
a filmmaker.
As a filmmaker. Well, and he appears in his documentaries as well.
He is a character in every single documentary for sure.
Yeah,
like his voice. Yeah.
Totally. And I'm obviously not the only person who thinks he's hilarious. Like, he's in Parks and Rec, and he's in the fucking Mandalorian. Not hilarious in the Mandalorian, but sort of.
It's hilarious.
Maybe not meant to be. Yeah. Anyway, so I have a long love affair with Werner Herzog, and I've always wanted to watch Nosferatu.
What's your dog's name?
Maul. And again, my obsession with Herzog goes down to that. Yes, I have a dog named Werner Herzog, and my wife and I volunteer at the Telluride Film Festival every year, and Herzog goes every year. And actually, a couple years ago, I got to meet Werner Herzog and show him a picture of my dog, Werner Herzog, and he looked at me and said, "That is a good name." And then he just kind of walked away. So that
Did he take your phone?
He did not take my phone.
Okay.
As you know, Werner Herzog doesn't like technology. I think the last...
Oh, I saw that movie, whatever that technology movie that he made.
Oh, right. Yeah, the one that was kind of about the internet, right?
Yeah.
I think he has a microwave, but I don't know if he's gone past that.
I don't have a microwave, Werner.
Why do... He's... Jesus, he's a legend. You're flipping him off. What if he watches this?
He's gonna watch it. He'll appreciate that. That is a good finger. What did you think of this movie?
So we purposely watched it back to back, basically, with the original, and I was incredibly impressed with the music and the design and the languorous pace.
The cinematography is
the cinematography was
wonderful.
I mean, and when you're in the Alps or the
Carpathians,
the Carpathians,
it was more like fucking Borat.
That was Borat, yep. That was Borat for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look beautiful, but like, it's very strange to watch a movie by like 1922 standards and then see a really great recreation of it, some 50 years later, 55 years later, and the realism, the humanity in all the characters, in a a genre story, I thought was really great.
All right, we did it.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. I concur. I also just really liked that he did sort of ape some of the same exact shots from the movie, but they still just looked glorious and fresh at the same time. Like the ship shot where Nosferatu is sort of like, or I guess it's Dracula. That's the thing.
Right.
In Nosferatu, Murnau changed the names from Dracula. It's like Hutter, and then we got, I don't even remember who Lucy is. But instead of like Mina Harker and Jonathan Harker, and I guess we have Lucy Harker in this, he just changed them. I'm not entirely sure why.
It was all due to
rights,
copyright, and actually Bram Stoker's widow ended up suing and winning because they barely changed anything. And the reason that I think Herzog was able to use Dracula and go back to the real characters' names is because it's in the public domain.
Right, the rights lapsed at that point. Yeah.
But apparently in the book, Dracula only is weakened by sunlight, and they were like, "Well, what if he dies by sunlight? This won't be a copyright infringement."
The crow of the cock. Yeah. The first one felt like a pirate movie to me when I was watching it in a great way. But
why?
Because I was doing a pirate voice. And I'm not going to do it. I'll do it on the
when you were reading
I was reading the title cards. Like the letters. It was just
that shouldn't count. You should be able to watch a movie and then say, yeah, it felt like a pirate movie because I was talking like a pirate while I was watching it.
No, it doesn't count. You're right. It doesn't count.
Like, why don't you read a poem?
Oh, in a pirate?
Yeah,
It's going to be like a 3-hour. Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a short...
Ooh, Sail Rock was a good one.
Okay. Yeah, take it. Yeah, be inspired.
Vegetable poems.
Yes.
Potatoes. Blind knobby eyes feeling out the chinks in the damp black earth. All summer long these tunnel under the fence to throttle the open field of milkweed and Queen Anne's lace, or live for years in cellars. Their softened, mealy flesh rotting into the earth, indistinguishable from earth, but still flinging up roots and occasional leaves, white as fish in caves. Feel them, the swollen sack, the baggy elephant skin. If they are edible, it is only by accident.
Oh my God, dude, you got into that.
Yeah, Cathapola.
Does Lily enjoy that?
By the crow of the cock, she does.
Wow.
That was
That was not where I didn't think it was gonna be as good as that.
Lose yourself in that? Like,
I'm still there. Yeah,
you are.
I'm a potato.
I started getting like, I started getting sick.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like you were starting to lactate. I don't know why. That
Because they went like this.
Yeah. You're getting sick. Like that's how visceral the performance was.
It was a visceral performance. Yeah.
Oh. Well, let's talk about Lucy. Okay, so it starts with her having a dream of like, you know, something.
Lucille Ball.
No, her name's Lucy. Lucy
Oh,
Harker.
from the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are we here for? What do we want to talk about? I love
Said
Lucy.
you wanted to talk about Lucy. I didn't remember.
Isabelle Adjani, what did you think of her performance?
Oof. I wasn't enamored.
Oh.
I thought she was like very striking looking, but I mean it's a tough part, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's just kind of like having dreams and like
Staring.
looking at bats, and like when remember the scene where the bat is like grabbing and clawing up like her window curtains and stuff. I was like, I'm out of that room. I'm gonna sleep on the couch tonight. Like, yeah, she definitely could have had more movement.
Well, she had more than the original. She got to go to the beach.
Yeah, she got to go to the beach.
And she got to sort of stare off.
Do you ever think about that?
The beach?
Like, no, going to the beach and wearing that sheer amount of clothes that people in like the 1800s wore.
Well, it looked fucking cold, so I was
right.
But
they do that in the summer too. You know?
Yeah. No, I do think about that. I did make a note. I was like, what an outfit for the beach.
Yeah.
I think I said that, and I didn't do it in a pirate voice because I was enthralled with Herzog's movie a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the mood of it was very atmospheric. I will say though, like, we watched it too late, and I had to sort of stop about. There's like a half an hour left. The shot where we stopped was close on Klaus's fucking glorious face, so weird looking, and then the lights of the city behind him, like on either end. Such a cool fucking shot. And then after awesome. Like when I started to lose like consciousness, I was like, oh no, let's go back to that shot and then I'll pick it up. The spell had worn off a little bit the next day when I turned it off, because I was sort of like kind of laughing slightly at some, like when he's running through the square.
Right.
But when I first watched that scene, he's moving so slowly the entire movie that it's fucking terrifying when he starts to run all of a sudden.
Right. Yes. This was the first time that, excuse me, this beer is making me a little bubbly.
No, I've been burping the whole time.
No. Didn't notice. Very self-centered here.
We've noticed.
But his teeth are so fascinating, so different from any other Dracula or vampire that you ever see. But it definitely goes to the whole sort of vibe that Nosferatu in the original gives
it
off
is
as
it
well.
is basically it is like Count Orlok, and right. But it's sort of taken to the nth degree. It's like longer, thinner, and obviously just better effects because it's been 55 years or whatever. But like it just works with his face so well.
I love the little hat that he wears on the first time that he sees.
Oh yeah,
you know, I wish he would wear that hat more.
That's your big note. I mean, he wore it a lot more in the original. Like it was like it looks like he's just like gone to bed in like a little. He doesn't look creepy at all. He just looks like an old man that he woke up from a nap. Yeah,
like he lives in a fucking coffin.
It's a ghost castle, though.
Yeah.
It only exists in the imagination of man.
Is that true?
That's what it said.
Did you read that in a pirate voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The imagination of man. No, it's like a really subtle sour, but it adds some nice effervescence and it definitely is making me burp, but it feels, right now it feels like it's 3 a.m. with you right now, and I don't know why that is, but this is sort of making me not feel exhausted.
Because, isn't that the best thing about hanging out with friends who make you laugh a lot, is that like, it could be any time of day, but it's probably in your mind it's 3 a.m. because you've been up for so long just saying bullshit.
Right, and that's when you're sort of things are even more funny at 3 a.m, or like you've lost all filters, or the exhaustion brain is only making you funnier or more absurd.
Yeah, and funnier, obviously, to what audience, but...
We'll find out. You tell us. Everyone's like, they haven't made me laugh fucking once.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Yeah.
And we're sorry for that.
I'm terribly not sorry.
Well, fair enough. I just keep looking at your goddamn box where it just says Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Finn, lightsaber duel, break apart Darth Maul. And I just like, that's what because I like, it happens in therapy a lot too, where when I trail off, I just go, because I'm uncomfortable with silence.
Yep.
And I also don't know what the fuck to say, because this was off the rails from the start. But that's okay. We're off the rails. No, like, who cares? That's like, I'm owning it. Let's be off the rails.
Let's be off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be any other way.
That's why you're here. Or that's why I'm here in Griffith Park with you.
Yeah. A wonderful night in Griffith Park.
And it's very romantic. And I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, there's so many different things to talk about, but right now I don't remember any of them.
Break apart Darth Maul. Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, or Luke and Dagobah, or with the grappling hook.
Those are all my Star Wars action figures.
That was
I'm trying to sell them.
Oh, well, here we go. This is your platform. Anyone who wants them.
80 some odd.
God, there's so many fucking boxes
in
here.
the box. 1990s Star Wars action figures for sale. $5 each. Come on down.
Griffith Park.
Come on down to Griffith Park. I live here.
He's only there at night, obviously.
Yep, obviously. And yeah, well, let's be friends.
Oh. Can we talk about Lucy's plan? I know we're just skipping ahead, but like we're off the rails. So her plan, because she's like, I know what I must do.
Yeah.
And before that, she goes, I am in this alone. And Lily watching is like, of course. Yeah, because it's always, no one's helping her. Van Helsing's a dick in this movie. He's just this old man. He's actually like literally just a doctor who's checking up on Harker and her.
Right.
And Harker, when he comes back, we haven't said anything about the plot of this movie, but basically real estate deal. Go up and get Dracula to come and sign a contract to buy the house next to you.
Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, he's just like, oh, you want to pour some sweat and blood? And
he's so creepy.
Yes,
he's very creepy in the original.
Peter Lorre. That's what he reminds me of. Who he reminds me of.
So... he's very creepy in the original. He feels, I think we were talking about this the other day, he feels like he's in like the cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something like that. Very, over-the-top silent film expressions. But the guy in this one is just as crazy, too. And if that was my boss and he was like, he's offering, what incentive is he offering?
Well, he does say, and the incentive to me was bullshit, because he says like, oh, you can get a finer house for Lucy. And I saw their fucking house, and it was gorgeous. Like, when they come out, it's just like this beautiful, like right by the bridge, this wonderful little townhome.
It's a great home. But you know what? He is not offered that. He comes up with that himself. He says, true. I could buy a finer house for Lucy. So it's not even like the guy, Knock, is like...
Well, I mean, I think he's saying that you'll get more money. Like, you'll get the whatever. I mean, it's just like
he's gone for like 4 weeks.
and never returns. Like, even when he returns, he's not himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, even if he had come back and not been bitten by a vampire, would this have been worth it?
No. Well, no, I mean, I could have told you that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, I knew it wasn't when your boss says it's going to be a lot of sweat and blood. That was not the pirate voice. But no, how did he... And he just sort of like, and blood.
Yeah.
And, you just have to like... it's very Igor, but like more, I mean, creepier. I mean, I think the guy in the silent movie is creepier. This guy, he's creepy too, but he's just almost even somehow more over the top because we hear him.
Well, and he's more over the top because the rest of the movie is quite grounded and real.
That's true.
Think, the whole original, it's like you're not even watching the same almost kind of art. At that point, like, film has come so far that
Yeah.
you're I don't know, you grade, I think I grade silent films differently than
On a curve or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like you grade it for just appreciation that it exists and how cool the historic nature of it, but it's for the most part you can't, like, it's just not as good. Well,
yeah, it's kind of like think about it like this. Like, what's your favorite dessert?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'll just say red velvet cake in this moment because that's what came up. Yeah.
Think about like the first person who ever made a cake, right?
Yeah.
It probably sucked. Like, at the time it was like, we're inventing cake?
Yeah.
Like, it must have been awesome. So you kind of have to like give, thanks and praise to the pioneers
of cake
and just realize that like Murnau was at the time making this.
He's a fucking genius.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that movie was terrifying to people.
Right.
And you watch it now, and I'm making a pirate voice because
you're too scared to just be yourself.
That's exactly right. It's exactly what I did when I watched The Exorcist.
Yes. What were you doing?
I was making jokes with my I was uncomfortable watching it with a bunch of people I didn't know, and then my best friend John, but like it was sort of like we were growing apart. And I was like, oh, I have to like be brave and cool to watch this movie. I like was not ready. I was not a horror movie person when I was like 12 or whenever we watched it.
You were
and so like
apart at 12.
Well, like he had moved away at that point, and it was sort of like, oh, it already felt like the rose was off the bloom or whatever the fucking phrase is. And it just felt like there was pressure to be like, oh, I have to go to this even though I don't want to. And then he had all his cousins there. I never liked his cousins because I'm just better on one-on-one. Like this, as everyone can sell. Look at this. But then I just remember I just was basically a comedian because I was so... Everyone was terrified. And it was just like, oh, that's my... I was just Chandler, right? Coping mechanism.
Well, of course. You're 12.
Yeah, I think it was the only way to survive. It was survival.
Oh, man, we could do a whole podcast about The Exorcist, too. This isn't a podcast. This is a YouTube show.
It's kind of the same thing, but you can see us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, better, worse? Not sure. Great job, Holy Mountain. This the color of this beer is the way that I
imagine beer
and imagine light in whenever the fuck light was invented.
Like the first primordial light.
No, like Edison light.
Oh! I'm just like, when light was invented, like the sun? No, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
It's
makes
like
more
this,
sense.
like,
Well, because
deep
it's sort of like a
amber
weird...
glow,
right, and it has the kind of color of the glass in it or whatever the fuck it's on in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the filaments.
The filaments.
The filaments. To the filaments.
To the filaments.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it's definitely got an apricot. Are you an apricot or apricot person?
I'm an apricot person.
You're an apricot?
Yeah.
I think I'm the person who always has to ask the person after I say it because I don't like either one.
Oh.
Well, because I think whichever one I choose feels wrong.
So it's apricot and apricot. Apricot and apricot.
Yeah.
So
I do say apricot more. I would say that. I don't know what that means.
It doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's based on like where you're from if you say apricot or apricot. So it does mean something. Like if you're from the if you're in the Carpathians.
It means something. Like
everything means something, I think.
Right. If you're talking about like where your particular dialect comes from.
Yeah.
But like I thought you were saying like, does it mean you're like a specific kind of person? Like,
well, yeah.
Are you a bad person because you say apricot?
Well, I mean, I think that's probably, I convinced myself that I am.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that today too. I was like,
me being a bad person?
Yes. And I was like, man, this might be the last of it here.
This was it. Why I was trying to get rid of friends by doing this show. No, I think I was trying to gain friends or solidify them.
No, you were. I mean, you've said it in your little posts.
In my little posts. How demeaning. How demeaning.
On my phone!
They're little!
Small! They're little!
Oh, man. No, they're not. I've seen your texts. Your font is huge. But
I knew you were gonna say that.
well, you
Don't shame me for my sight.
No, I know. I shouldn't shame.
I
you.
don't give a shit.
Well, you shame me out for other things.
Yeah, all the time.
That's every good male friendship is built on shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And beer.
Cheers. It's all happening here. All right, so he goes, it's a real estate deal, Harker.
Yes, Jonathan Harker. Yes.
He gets on a horse,
Oh my god. Yes.
right? And he's just rides off on a horse, like, alone.
Into the fucking mountains.
Into the mountains. And, oh man, I really loved the scene where he's going along that river that is, like, between the two cliffs.
Yeah, and into the mountains. That's when he had Richard Wagner's playing.
Yeah.
And it's the Ring. My dad would be proud that I recognized it because it's like
The Ring Cycle, is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Ring of the Nebulum.
Is it so? Is that the, or is it
I think so.
the guitar-y one, the like or whatever? Like there was that really repetitive, like strummed like string.
I think that is the score.
Okay.
By Popol Vuh, I think. Popol Vuh.
I love that score.
Yeah, the score is fucking
It's
great.
hypnotic.
Hypnotic is yeah, which was my first drink. Hypnotic, that blue liquid is awful.
Your first drink tonight.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you had some in your liquor cabinet. That's how it felt like maybe I broke the spell when I watched it the second day, because I couldn't just jump back in the middle. I was sort of like, I felt like I needed to go back to the beginning to get back on the rails, because we're off the rails.
Right.
And
get
so
back on the horse that he's riding.
there is no horse
through the mountain.
Do you remember that? That's one of my favorite scenes where he's trying to get the carriage person.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
And the
there
guy's
is
like,
no horse.
There is no horse. Yeah.
There is no
Dude,
castle.
I would be so pissed if I'm like talking to a person and I'm like, give me that horse, and he's like, there's no horse.
I'll pay you more. There's no
Has
horse.
anyone ever done that to you where they just
basically
like,
lie to your fucking face?
Oh.
Yes, but never so boldly as
Yeah.
that. But part of me would be furious, and then the other part, there'd be some small part that would be like, wow,
A
I'm
little
impressed.
respected. Yeah, respecting that.
Yeah.
agreed.
Well, also maybe I would fucking listen to what that guy's trying to say in that
Right,
moment.
right.
Don't go to the goddamn castle, you
Right.
fool.
Yeah.
When he says where he's going and the lady just drops the bowl
Right.
to Count Dracula, and it's just like, oh yeah, why you go? Don't go.
Yeah, you're right. He's
an
sort of-
idiot.
his naivete and
It's about capitalism.
and egotism, yeah, is sort of his downfall.
And he says it's for his wife, but I mean, yeah, I guess that's the excuse and that's all we get. But it just sort of, it's obviously his downfall, but there's no, I don't know, if there's any flaw to the movie, it's that there's really not much character in either of Lucy or
Right.
him,
They're
really. They're just sort of,
archetypes,
two-dimensional things. But but it also works for this movie, I think. And so, yeah, it just doesn't, we just know that he has to go because he's a man and he has to go alone to the fucking mountains, and that's going to end poorly and good.
Okay,
Yes.
check this out.
Ooh, check it.
One of the
you want a
things
little
that I read about essentially like Dracula literary criticism is this idea of the popularization of like vampire folklore and such in the 1800s is seen now a couple different ways, but one of them is seen as a way of exploring gender and sexuality. And a big idea of it was that maybe Bram Stoker was closeted gay.
Oh, interesting.
And that the idea of a man specifically going to a castle with another man and having that man penetrate him and
Yes.
drain him
Yes.
is
he sort of gets
something-
reborn too.
Yes, and becomes the other.
Right.
Is maybe something that this character of Harker, by ignoring all these people's warnings, was like doing just because it was like something that was inside of him all along, and that he needed to do it or something.
And it was him following his heart or following what he needed to do. Yeah. I think that checks out to me. But I think a lot of times since then it sort of becomes the sort of predatory like feed on women or something like that. But or it's just sort of it's sexy and just that like, but even the idea that you can only come out at night and be your true self.
Right.
That's another thing where it's sort of, and I think that it was basically throughout our whole history, that's how people have had to hide in the dark. And then for Dracula in this, he definitely is so lonely. That I get that way more than in the original, where he talks so much about like, you know, he says something about, you know, life without love
and how he can never die and
how miserable he is. But like when he sees, you know, what a lovely throat Lucy has, you know, which she has a pretty good throat.
Beautiful
I guess.
throat.
Yeah. Is that
long,
ever
pale?
That's when you're just thinking about throats.
I mean, and which is what Dracula's doing.
That's all he does.
All day. And he's alone.
Sitting thinking about throats.
You know, how did he concoct this plan? Like, did Knock essentially come under a spell of Dracula's from a long distance? Or did Knock go? Like, how did that happen?
I think there's actually more of that in the original, where because like they have codes and stuff where it's sort of established that they had this relationship for a long period of time, and this is just sort of. But he's a familiar. I think that's how it feels like to me. He's like Guillermo, right? And sort of. But he's a disciple or an acolyte, and sort of has been promised probably immortality, and that's why he works for him. So I'm imagining Nosferatu at some point came down to the city, or maybe he even reached out to Knock for whatever reason. It seems like, I mean, he has all this time to probably do research. I'm not sure how you do that from a ghost castle in the Carpathian Mountains without...
Well, if he can sort
fly and turn into a bat.
And make, you know, whether it's actually him that's coming and looking at Lucy, or it's just his psychic signal or whatever.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe he did that with Knock as well.
I think so. Or like he can... You know, any people that he meets, he can put under his influence and then sort of, and that's kind of what the plague is, right? I mean, the plague is separate from what, you know, him turning people. In the original Nosferatu, it felt like sort of it was just Nosferatu was the plague. In this one, it was like, no, there's no way this is all vampire deaths.
Right.
But it was like so much more effective watching that, especially in the time that we're living in, where it was just like there's like COVID parties happening in the town square, that was, and just like the aisles of white coffins, which were so striking, especially when compared to, you know, our boy carrying the nice black
toting his own
coffin,
which I think in German would have the word "tot" in it, because "tot" means dead.
Oh.
I don't know if it's like Dead Box or something like that. But
Dead Box.
This is my favorite streaming service, Dead Box.
That's what Redbox should do in October.
Yes!
Welcome to Dead Box.
Send this video to them.
I think it was the first time we see him in the castle, right? Mm-hmm. Dracula, and it's just Klaus's pure white, pale, gangly face, and then just all black around him.
Listen. Listen.
That was a really cool choice. Something that, to me, like made the movie. Stuff like that made the movie stand out beyond just like a retelling of Nosferatu or the Dracula story.
Yeah, there was so much. I think the artistry of all that stuff. Like, I think, yeah, maybe we're on the same page in terms of like, obviously we're not like feeling emotions during this movie. We're not following these characters and really caring about them. But the artistry on display from Werner and company is well worth. And in the music, it is this mood, and it sort of just feels like, oh yeah, I want to be in this. Like, I know I don't want to be in those mountains, but I really want to be in those mountains.
The foreboding music, like carrying you there.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like he doesn't even know why he's going.
Yeah.
And maybe that's really what it is that Knock somehow has some sort of influence based on his relationship with Dracula.
Right.
That just him giving this sort of enticement is enough to where he's just sort of like just swept away.
Yeah.
but that also just sort of feels like a very masculine thing too. Just sort of like, oh, you want an adventure?
Right.
And it's like the flimsiest thing is just like, oh fuck, I gotta do that.
That was definitely something that I thought about, especially, you know, our sort of history of talking about like archetypal masculine sort of rituals and journeys and things, that like when he was setting off on foot at that point, just walking down this trail into the mountains, it was like it has that feeling of like, okay, what if you didn't know anything about what this movie was about, you would think that he's going out and he's going to come back like a changed yet you know, elevated man, you know, that he will have learned something, he will have maybe shed blood and tears and sweat, but in doing so will have transformed, and yet in this movie he's transformed in a totally different way.
Oh yeah, we think this man belongs to this house. Like he has amnesia, doesn't remember his wife, and that's devastating, as you might imagine, because Lucy basically had a premonition this was going to go wrong the whole time.
Right, she
said
told
don't
him
go.
not to go. Yeah,
and yeah, she's not asking for a better house. And she's just sort of sitting there stewing in her own misery. And oh god, when she has, because in the original film, I think it's Annie in my head. She also has sort of anxious dreams and nightmares and goes sleepwalking.
Yeah.
But the sleepwalking in this is so fucking cool, where she goes and we see it only in reflection and she's just upside down.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah,
another example of Herzog's like subtle artistry, I think.
Yeah, I think this is like a really cool way to remake something, I guess. It's just sort of like, and I'm imagining this movie had a profound effect on him too. You know, especially, you know, it's a
From
classic.
Countryman.
Yeah, exactly. And it is sort of seen as the first of, well, I don't know if it's the first of the genre, but it's like basically.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think like, I don't know if other people have this experience, but the way that we watch horror now, obviously we have the slashers and the torture porn and stuff, but we're in an era of like really elevated horror movies. And I feel like Nosferatu, while not achieving the same level of like humanity within its characters and like trying to show like real life and its horrors, it does something that other monster movies don't do, which is trying to have a romance and a humanity to it that is not just about the scares, I think.
Oh yeah, no,
You know?
I don't think there's a single moment in this movie where it feels like it's trying to make me scared. It just sort of feels like a natural thing. There are things that are freaky and creepy. Like I think when he enters the room and she has her hair like holding, that to me was fucking terrifying. It isn't high concept.
But it's interesting because the I guess what I'm trying to articulate is the original movie is like high concept, at least in that time.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like it's about a vampire,
right?
And like that, it's spawned the basis of monster. It is the origin point of that,
Patient
and
Zero.
that this movie, this remake, isn't trying to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's just. I mean, I don't even.
What is it trying to do?
I feel like it's not calling it a horror movie, which we are doing because this is horror movies with friends. It's more of just a drama that happens to have a vampire in it.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
You know?
Well, but I also
like a period piece drama. You know, like you could almost picture. I don't know if it was nominated for any Academy Awards, but it feels like it has that kind of.
It should have for score, and it should have for cinematography,
costuming,
and probably costuming. Yeah, or makeup, because
Mm-hmm.
the makeup on Klaus is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Although he's like the perfect face he's such a, like, you can put anything on his face and just sort of been like, he is the best fiend, I would say.
Indeed.
And yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the suckling, and I say suckling because it's not blood sucking, it's suckling. There's moisture, and it's even how it sort of punctures and then sort of
slurps,
slurps, and it's so kind of gross, but also, I mean, there's a certain level of arousing to it in some way, and it's also just different. Like, but it feels, I like different, especially when it's vampires. Like, we've seen all these things a million times. So whenever they do something different like that.
Well, there's a strange intimacy to it.
And we just hear the suckling too. Like, because we were hearing that score the whole time, and then all of a sudden it's just like lip smacking and...
Right. But like specifically when he's doing it to Lucy.
Yes.
Like, that is so creepy, because it's like he's like looking at us, right?
Yes, and his hand is just on her breast in like the most garish way possible.
Right.
But sorry,
and it's, I don't know, it's maybe his eyes are they're so blank but expressive weirdly, that he's expressing to me in that moment his utter like inability to like, he almost doesn't want to be doing that, but it's like he has to do it, and it makes him who he is. It's this really strange, that's how I take it anyways, is that like when he's doing it, there's a weird guilt happening for me, but also of course I have to do this.
It felt, I think it's in there. It's guilt, but it's also like, this is the only, like, it's also, he wants this woman so bad at the same time, or like, he cannot, he's conflicted, but he can't stop himself.
Well, and
there is one scene where he does actually like leave when she asks him to. And which was sort of like very cool. But then it's like when he comes back, it's just over. But that's part of her plan, which her plan is to just like, my blood's gonna be really good, and he's gonna just drink it too long.
So he says, you know, you don't know what it's like to not be able to die, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, does he just not know that if he just stays up till sunrise, he'll fucking die?
That's a good point.
He knows that.
He definitely knows that. There's a reason he's in a fucking creepy dark castle.
Exactly.
So if he's so he's just complaining, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kvetching.
Yeah, he is. That was a good pronunciation. Like he's like, oh, woe is me, I can't die, blah blah blah. But it's like, you're not trying very hard.
Yeah, he's not trying.
Fall into a fucking stake, or go outside for a walk. That's all you need to do.
And maybe we empathize with Dracula a little bit more than we know, because we are doing the same thing all the time. Go with me. Figure out what I'm trying to say. I don't really know what I'm trying to say.
I'm interested. Okay, so meaning we complain about our lives, but we continue to do it? Yeah, like, oh, I hate this job, but I'm going to go to it. Yeah. Or, oh, I hate my wife, I'm going to go to it. And that's not just an example.
Yeah.
Or, like, I hate this book, but I got to fucking finish it. Or,
maybe.
Or I'm on season 4 of Walking Dead. I can't stop.
And if I could just quit. And it's like, dude, why don't you?
Yeah. Ooh, is he... Well, so, I mean, he is an addict. That is sort of what Dracula is, so there's that.
Well, that's what I mean when his look of guilt. I think that's where the look of guilt in my mind comes from.
That he knows he could have just ended it rather than keep going on the vicious cycle.
Yeah. Excuse me. Jesus. I love the shot of the captain being tied to the steering wheel or whatever the fuck called out on a boat.
Yeah.
And then the ship just like comes in and stops, and
Well, it sort of like slams into,
Yeah.
not slams,
but like, how
yeah.
the fuck did it get that far? You know, like,
yeah, that's a good
and
point.
I'm just thinking like Dracula's like making this ship go on this course, and that's I don't know, it's very creepy to me. Like it's a ghost ship.
It is a ghost ship. In both versions, I was like, why the fuck is he tying himself to the steering wheel? What does that do?
It looks cool.
Okay. But like if I'm trying to like survive and not get killed by a vampire, I'm not tying myself down to something.
True.
Like what does that serve anyone other than like I have to go down with my ship?
I mean, but that's the captain thing.
Right.
It reminds me of the Nightmare on Elm Street thing of like he's gonna fall asleep at some point.
Yes.
You know? And so his version of like trying to keep himself awake or something long enough to like battle or stave off the vampire.
Right. He doesn't even really know what he's facing either, right?
No, he has no idea.
Which is the worst. All he knows is that everyone is gone.
I am so afraid of drowning.
Oh, is that your greatest
It wasn't,
fear?
but no. Like I'm very scared of the magnitude of the ocean. Like it's just so huge. One of a movie that really freaks me out is The Perfect Storm.
Like really?
Being like on 100-foot wave, like with a little tiny boat or something. Yeah, terrifying.
Kyle, I think we've Wernered. I think we've Wernered a lot.
We epically Wernered.
Yeah, I feel like the cock of the crow is about to happen. We have been going for enough time on Nosferatu the Vampyre. And Phantom der Nacht. And I hope thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for coming to the Carpathian Mountains with me. Or thank you for inviting me into your castle. Like, it was sort of
that was the only way you would get in.
We have been doing this. I have been torturing myself for a friend and for the Trevor Project, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping LGBTQ plus youth. There's information below. If you can spare any change to help, that would be awesome. It's basically the reason I'm doing this. Normally I just say ideas and don't do them. And this one was an idea, maybe not my best one, but I'm like, I'm going to fucking do it this time. So that's October. Let's keep going. 'Cause God, Kyle, we're just on day 11. 12.
This is day 12.
This is day 12.
Whoever's after this, congratulations. You really knocked it out.
And whoever is after this, that is a good segue, Kyle, to we have my friend Lizzie on, and we are going to watch The Haunting, both the original 1963 Robert Weiss film that is not available to stream for free, so you're gonna have to rent it, but the 1999 disastrous film, The Haunting, that stars our boy Liam Neeson, directed by
Liam Neeson?
Yeah, let's watch as many of those as you can, or you can watch Haunting of Hill House. It's all based on the Shirley Jackson book. And yeah, that's tomorrow or whenever the next episode comes. But in the meantime, I haven't really properly thanked you. I'm grateful that you came.
I don't deserve to be thanked.
No, I think we had fun. Whether it will translate to the audience, that's on editor, Andy. That poor fucking bastard. That's the difference.
You know when this will be funny? In like 10 years.
Why? What's gonna happen? It's like in 10 years, like comedy took a break for 9 years, and then we're like,
this shit will get aged in barrels.
Oak barrels.
And we will continue to consort with the devil right here on ABC Channel 4.
Let's howl at the moon for the friends we miss, the friends we wish were here to see this.
You're gonna have to delete this whole episode, Andy.